Chapter 16. Somewhere a siren screamed. We were in total darkness, and the sound seemed like it was coming from all around us. Is everyone okay? Jennifer shouted. I'm all right. Me too. I'm okay. Stay right where you are. I'll get the emergency lights on. In the darkness, I could hear Jennifer moving. Then the only thing I could hear was the siren, and I was scared. I didn't know what had happened. Maybe we'd run into something. Maybe something had run into us. I have a really bad feeling about this, Tara said. The lights hadn't come on yet, but it sounded like she was only a few feet away from me. We'll be all right, I said, but I wasn't sure if I believed it myself. Still, just saying it made me feel a little better. It's always best to look on the brighter side. That's what my dad always says anyway. After a few moments, a couple of dim yellow lights came on. The siren fell silent. On the other side of the control room, Jennifer stood with her back to us, tapping at the computer keyboard. There's some damage to the sub, but we're okay. But we're going to have to surface so I can repair a few things. I scrambled to my feet and Tara and Landon followed. We walked across the control room to where Jennifer was standing. What happened? I'm not sure. I don't understand it. Don't understand what? The Megalodon attacking the sub. I didn't think he would do that. She continued tapping the keyboard. First things first. Let's see what we've got. Suddenly, a bright light came from outside the submarine, lit up the large portal in front of us. We were at the bottom of the lake. I could see dark patches of seaweed and sand. There were several large clumps of what looked like decaying vegetation. I tried to look up and see the surface, but we were too deep. Then we saw something else, and this time it wasn't a recording being played back on a computer. This time it was real and happening right before our eyes. Chapter 17. The Megalodon cruised in front of the submarine. He moved slowly, taking his time. He approached the sub, and even with his mouth closed, his razor-sharp teeth protruded out. I could see his face, and I knew he was looking at us. He could see us through the glass portal, and I knew what must have been going through his head. There's a few tasty human snacks in that big steel can, he was thinking. All I got to do is get it open. A chill rocked through my body. Seeing such a massive, horrifying creature so close made my blood turn cold. At school, we went to the zoo for a field trip where they had an aquarium filled with sharks. It was really cool, but the sharks were only 5 or 6 feet long. They would look like tiny minnows compared to the beasts before us. He's watching us, Tara stammered. He can see us in here. I don't think he can, Jennifer said. The spotlight on the outside of the sub is very bright, and the light in here is faint. I think there's too much glare for him to actually see inside, but just to be safe, stay very still. Don't move an inch. I don't think I can move even if I tried. I was too scared. It felt like every muscle in my body had turned to stone. After about a minute, the Megalodon moved away. He swam off to the right of the submarine and vanished into the gloomy depths. Did he attack the submarine? I asked. Is that what happened? Jennifer shook her head. I don't know, she replied. He must have just been curious and nudged us. After all, he doesn't know what a submarine really is. He might think the sub is another Megalodon like him. Maybe he's looking for a girlfriend, Landon said. You might be right, Jennifer returned. Right now, it's impossible to know what the creature is thinking. Oh, we'd know soon enough. We were about to find out the Megalodon was not looking for a girlfriend. The truth was, he was mad. Maybe he thought the submarine was another Megalodon invading his territory, but for whatever reason, he was furious with the sub, and he was out to destroy it with us inside. Chapter 18. After a few minutes of working at her computer keyboard, more lights came on. Somewhere an engine chugged and hummed to life. My clothing was still wet, but at least I wasn't cold, and as it was quite warm in the submarine. There. Now we can ascend to the surface and make repairs. It shouldn't take too long. We're not very far from docking station at my laboratory. You'll be able to call your parents and be on your way home soon. Jennifer walked to the front of the submarine and stood at what looked like the helm. It was a tall desk with lots of electronics and switches and dials. I had no idea what they were for. Is that where you control the sub? Landon asked. Yes. Mostly it's controlled by computers, but someone must program them. And now that the submarine is damaged, I'll have to pay close attention to everything. You started to tell us about your theory, I said, right before that thing hit us. Yes, it's only a theory, but I believe this megalodon as a baby was frozen in amber millions of years ago. You mean tree sap? I'd seen bugs frozen in amber before, but I'd never heard of anything else trapped in amber, certainly not a fish. A few years ago, a large piece of amber was found about a mile from the lake. It was the size of a washtub and it contained several small fish frozen within it. Sharks? Not sharks, but they were a species of saltwater fish that became extinct long ago. I believe that's how our megalodon came into existence. I believe that somehow it became frozen in amber, which perfectly preserved the creature. For millions of years, the creature was in a dormant state, still alive in the amber. It was as if he was sleeping. In the late 1930s, when the Sardis Dam was being built, I think the workers unearthed the giant slab of amber, but didn't know it. The dam opened in 1940 and water flowed in from the Tallahatchie River. Over the years, the water softened the amber and it decayed, freeing the baby megalodon. And the water somehow revived the megalodon, I interjected. Exactly. The water brought the shark back to life. And although it wasn't salt water, it had been frozen in amber so long that the fish adapted and survived. For years, it's been in Sardis Lake. Some people claim to have seen it, but the very idea of a megalodon existing in this day and age seems ridiculous. Nobody took any of these sightings seriously. They'll have to now, Tara said. But if the megalodon has been here all this time, how come it hasn't eaten anyone? I'm not sure. The only thing I can think of is that, for the most part, animals, including fish, try to stay away from humans. Sure, there are shark attacks in the ocean, but humans aren't on the top of the shark's list of food. In fact, I think the megalodon in this lake primarily eats other freshwater fish. There are lots of fish in the lake, which would contribute to his enormous size. The other possibility is that the megalodon might be able to go back into periods of semi-hibernation for years. That seems like the most likely possibility. He could remain unnoticed for years, resting at the bottom of the lake. Look, it's getting light out, Tara pointed. I looked out the window and up. Above us, the darkness was fading into a gauzy gray color. The sub was approaching the surface. But then we saw something else. And the four of us soon realized that we were not going to make it.